I want you to think about how other people, other teams or departments describe your team. If I walked into the executive suite tomorrow and asked, tell me about your team, what would they say? Would they say, they're hard workers, they just get it done? Or would they say they're the most reliable operators we have? We can always trust their output. Now, on the surface, those sound like compliments, right? But in the world of Rung 10 on the leadership savviness ladder, those are faint praise descriptions. They describe utility, a task, not an identity. They describe the team as a resource, not as a strategic powerhouse. My lovely, if your team is known as hard workers, you are trapped in the visibility paradox. You've become the hidden secret within the organisation. Brilliant, valuable, tucked away in a drawer where no one sees your true strategic sparkle. Today, we're reversing the conventional leadership myth that says that team's work should speak for itself. I'm here to tell you that if your team's work is the only thing speaking, no one is listening to your team's leadership. Welcome back, my lovely. This is the Strategic Leader Within podcast, and we're continuing with the series on strategic leadership presence. We set the structure with the intentional teams method and the foundation with the strategic North Star. Now we're looking at the social signal your team sends to the rest of the organisation. At Rung 2, a team is seen as a utility resource. You're the engine room. People come to you and your team when they need something done. You and your team are reactive. At Rung 10, a team is seen as an identity. They're the strategic trailblazers. People come to you when they need something solved, and you are proactive. To move from Rung 2 to Rung 10, you must move from being a manager of tasks, or what I like to say is a manager on the dance floor, the operational dance floor, to being the strategic architect of your team identity. You want people inside and outside your department to look at your team and say, I want to be part of that team. You want a brand that signals two things simultaneously, grit and compassion. You want to be known for the safe pair of hands that isn't afraid to make the tough, non-conformist decisions. Remember, excellence is your baseline, but presence is your breakthrough. Identity leadership isn't about your personal power. We cover that in the Leading Self. Okay? This is about your collective professional brand of your team. It's about building a culture that is so distinctive and so powerful that it becomes an unshakable asset. Let's look at the accidental brands of our three leadership tendencies, the type of leadership brands that they build at Rung 2. Because if you don't intentionally craft an identity, your organisation will project one on you. You'll likely resonate with one of these tendencies more than the other, but you can slip in and out of these tendencies depending on circumstances and the environment you're currently working on. The Responsible Executors team is known as the Burnout Factory. Their brand, it has relentless output. They're the team that never says no. Stakeholders love them as a resource, but they don't respect them as leaders. It's a high-performing machine starting to smoke at the seams. People don't want to be on it because they see a high beta stress level that the leader carries. And she is a safe pair of hands, a handmaiden to the organisation. The Thoughtful Contributors team could be named the Harmonious Pushovers. Their brand is nice and soft. The leader prioritises relatedness and connection so heavily that the team is pleasant to work with but lacks the grit Stakeholders trust them to be kind, but not to make the tough calls. When a strategic pivot might upset people, the executive team looks elsewhere. A safe pair of hands people feel they can push around. The careful analyst team could be called the black hole of data. Their brand is academic excellence. They're known for being right, but also for being slow. Stakeholders trust the data, but they find the team cold and distant. They provide the spreadsheets, but they're not invited to the strategy session where the spreadsheets are discussed. A safe pair of hands disconnected from the heart of the business. My lovely, none of the accidental brands will get you to Rung 10. To be a strategic trailblazer, your team needs a brand that combines strategic grit with authentic compassion. So why does team identity matter so much in an organisation? It's about how the collective brain of the company scans for safety. We need to talk about relatedness or connection and the neuroception of trust. In the 5 gatekeepers of human behaviour, relatedness or connection is the sense of friend or foe. The brain needs to know whether we're part of the same tribe. When the team has no clear identity, when it's just a collection of a group of individuals, stakeholders can't relate to them as a unit. This triggers a subconscious threat response. The strategic command centre of your brain, the PFC, starts constantly asking, are they aligned with us? Can we trust their motives? Will they drop the ball when things get tough? The safe pair of hands signals when you intentionally craft an identity as a safe pair of hands. You hack that certainty gatekeeper. But here's the secret. True certainty doesn't come from never making a mistake. It comes with authentic honesty. Through mirror, stakeholders catch the internal state of the team. If your team is pretending that everything is fine when it's not, when everything is fine and it's not, or hiding behind accept that lack of authenticity, it creates some social static. They don't trust you even when your work is flawless. However, a team with grit, the ability to say, this is the tough reality and here is our plan to fix it, signals high status and autonomy. When your team has compassion to care about the people, but the grit to make the nonconformist decision for the good of the vision, you signal integrity. You signal integrity. To your stakeholders' brain, integrity is the ultimate safety signal. They realise, I don't have to watch my back with this team. They tell me the truth. They do the hard thing and they care about the impact. This is how you move from being a resource or an operational resource to a strategic partner. This is how you create the allure of, I want to be part of that team. So how do we build this unmistakable brand? We use the power moves to signal our identity to the world. The first move is internal identity building. Before the world believes your brand, your team needs to believe it. Here you'll use Power Move 59, acknowledge a team's strength. Stop giving generic praises. Good job, everyone. Name the strength that aligns with your new brand. Say, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of the grit this team has shown in that meeting. We stood by our data when it was unpopular. That is who we are. This replaces that quiet achievement with visible identity. Move 2 is the brand standard. A brand is only as strong as the weakest link. So Power Move 62 will help here, where you call out the behaviour. If a team member is diluting your brand, being the pushover or the over-accommodating executor, address it. Use direct, kind language to uphold your standard. This isn't about being mean or judgmental, it's being authentically honest. It signals that the identity is non-negotiable. It's important to remember here, if you're going to call out the behaviour, that it's not what you communicate, but how you communicate that really matters and really signals that honest authenticity. It signals that the identity is non-negotiable. Move 3 is the external brand visibility. You have to broadcast your team's Rung 10 status. Power move 56 is send a win story. So stop waiting for people to notice your results. Craft a win story that aligns with your bigger vision and share it with stakeholders. Don't just report the what, report the how and the why. Say something like, we made a really tough decision on Project X to ensure long-term stability. The result was Y. This signals strategic grit. Move 4 is where you're going to check your strategic presence. You need to see where it matters. Power move 37 is the weekly visibility check. Choose one way for your team or for you as their representative to show up more visibly this week. This isn't about bragging or over-promoting, it's about presence. It's about ensuring that your safe pair of hands are visible at the strategic tables, not just in the tactical ones. My lovely, your challenge this week is to become the brand manager of your team. Step 1 is define your identity duo. If your team could be known for only 2 words, what would they be? I suggested grit and compassion, or it might be honesty and excellence. Write them down. Step 2 is to use Power Move 9. In your next meeting, explicitly name a time when you saw those 2 words in action, such as, team, when we handled that client crisis yesterday with such calm honesty, that was a brand in action. Step 3 is Power Move 56. Identify one win story for the week and send it to your boss or a key stakeholder. Focus on the strategic intent behind the win. Step 4, the one thought shift. As a responsible executor, a leader of responsible executors, shift from we must get more done to be valued to we must lead with grit to be respected. If your team is displaying the thoughtful contributor tendency, shift from we must be liked by everyone to we must be trusted to tell the truth. And if your team is displaying the careful analyst tendency, your short thought shift for this week is the shift from the data is our value to our strategic perspective is our value. So, my lovely, when you build a team identity that people want to be a part of, you stop pushing for results and you start pulling for opportunities. You move from the exhaustion of Rung 2 to the magnetic authority of Rung 10. And you aren't managing a team or department, you're leading a movement. And if you're ready to go deeper, I want to invite you to the 3 leadership tendencies that keep women invisible. This is a masterclass, the place where we take everything we've explored today and put it to work for you, hands-on, in real time. It's your fast track to leading with presence, grit and authority that your team deserves. You'll find the details at sue-ann.com.au/masterclass. I'll link it in this and register, my lovely, and build the brand that gets you and your team noticed. In our next episode of Cultivating Collective Drive, we're talking about determination, how to keep grit alive over the long haul, how to lead with relentless determination without burning out, and how to keep your team's strategic fuel topped up when the pressure is at its peak. Remember, excellence is your baseline, but presence is your breakthrough. Build to the brand, own the identity, and be the trailblazer you were meant to be.